Admiral Kang Min-ho's boots echoed against the metal floor as he walked through the corridors of Earth's most secret facility. The Unified Defense Command Center was buried 3 kilometers beneath the mountains of South Korea, hidden from the prying sensors of alien scout ships that had been watching Earth for decades. The massive holographic display showed a 3-dimensional map of local space, with Earth glowing like a blue jewel at the center. Red warning symbols marked the positions of Galactic Dominion patrol fleets stationed just beyond the solar system. Today, everything would change. "Admiral, final confirmation codes are coming in from all Continental commanders," reported Commander Park Solar, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to do. She had been working on this project for 8 years, ever since humanity first discovered they were not alone in the universe. Kang Min-ho nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. He had seen too much during the secret wars with alien infiltrators to feel nervous now. "Initiate broadcast on all frequencies. Let every alien empire, federation, and warlord in the galaxy hear our words." The transmission began simultaneously, from hidden relay stations on Mars, Europa, and 17 asteroid bases scattered throughout the outer solar system. The message was simple, but carried the weight of an entire species' determination. Earth's unified government declared that all space within 50 light-years of Sol was now sovereign human territory. Any alien vessel entering this zone without explicit permission would be considered an act of war. The declaration gave existing alien forces 72 hours to withdraw beyond the boundary. On the bridge of the Dominion flagship, Eternal Conquest, High Admiral Vextar's 4 eyes glowed with rage as he absorbed the human transmission. His scaled hands gripped the command console until his claws left deep scratches in the metal. The Dominion had ruled this section of the galaxy for 3,000 years, crushing over 400 species into submission. "Sir, should we inform the High Council?" asked his tactical officer, a nervous creature with tentacles instead of arms. Vexitar's laugh was like grinding metal. "The High Council? These primitive mammals think they can challenge beings who were traveling between stars when their ancestors were still living in caves." He turned to face his bridge crew, all representatives of different conquered species serving their Dominion masters. "Activate the Third Fleet. We'll make an example of this pathetic little world." The Third Fleet consisted of 300 warships, each one capable of reducing a planet to molten slag. Battle cruisers the size of cities emerged from hyperspace at staging points throughout Dominion territory. Their crews were eager for action after months of boring patrol duty. Back on Earth, Director Kim Jisoo sat in her command bunker, watching the alien response unfold on multiple screens. Her short black hair was streaked with early gray from years of carrying humanity's greatest secrets. She had been 12 years old when the first alien probe was detected entering the solar system. Now, at 38, she commanded the most advanced military force in human history. "Director, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout Dominion space," reported Lieutenant Lee Do-yeon, his young face tense with concentration. "They're mobilizing faster than our projections suggested." Kim Jisoo smiled coldly. "Perfect. The bigger the response, the more impressive our demonstration will be." She activated her communicator, sending coded signals to hidden bases throughout the solar system. "All units, confirm readiness status for Operation Starwall." Responses flooded in from locations that officially didn't exist. Asteroid mining. Stations revealed themselves as massive weapons platforms. Scientific research vessels shed their disguises to become advanced warships. On Luna's dark side, enormous railguns extended from concealed hangar bays. The most important responses came from the outer system, where humanity's most closely guarded secrets waited in the cold darkness beyond Pluto. Ships built with technology that would have seemed like magic to humans just 50 years ago powered up their revolutionary engines. Lieutenant Colonel Oh Sun-woo commanded Outpost 7, hidden inside what appeared to be a derelict asteroid. His facility housed the prototype weapons that would either save humanity or doom them all. "Director, all exotic matter containment systems are stable. We're ready to show these aliens what human ingenuity can accomplish." Dr. Shin Yeona monitored the quantum field generators from her laboratory aboard the hidden research station, Daejeon's Hope. She had spent 15 years developing the technology that made humanity's bold declaration possible. Field harmonics are optimal, she reported. We can maintain full stealth coverage for the entire fleet. As alien forces began their approach to human space, civilian populations on Earth went about their daily lives, unaware that their species was about to either join the galactic community as equals or face extinction. Only a few thousand people knew the truth about what was coming. The 72-hour deadline was about to expire, and humanity was ready to prove that Earth's children were not the helpless primitives the galaxy believed them to be. The hyperspace. Rupture tore open like a wound in reality, spilling 300 Dominion warships into the void at the edge of human territory. Each vessel was a monument to alien conquest, their dark hulls stretching for kilometers and bristling with enough firepower to crack planets in half. Admiral Vextar stood on the command bridge of his flagship, Eternal Conquest, his 4 reptilian, eyes scanning the tactical displays with satisfaction. The ship was a behemoth of twisted metal and organic technology, grown rather than built in the bioforges of the Dominion homeworld. Living conduits pulsed with energy along the walls, feeding power to weapons that had reduced entire civilizations to ash. "So we've completed emergence from hyperspace," reported his tactical officer, a pale creature with 6 arms that worked the controls with mechanical precision. "All ships are maintaining formation. No sign of human resistance." Vextar's scaled lips pulled back in what passed for a smile among his species. "Of course there isn't. These mammals probably wet themselves when they detected our approach." He gestured toward the viewscreen showing empty space ahead. "Their pathetic planet cowers behind its star, hoping we'll simply forget about their insolence." The Dominion fleet began its advance, engines burning with the fury of captured stars. Each warship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, equipped with shields that could deflect antimatter bombardments and weapons capable of boiling oceans. The smallest destroyer in the formation carried enough firepower to sterilize a continent. Lieutenant Commander Zach Thule monitored the sensor arrays from his position at the detection station. His insectoid features remained impassive as he reported the readings. Admiral Space appears completely empty ahead. No artificial structures, no energy signatures, no sign of defensive preparations. "Exactly as expected," Vextar replied, his confidence growing with each passing moment. "These humans achieved crude faster-than-light travel only decades ago. They probably have a few dozen primitive vessels hiding in their asteroid belt, waiting to make some desperate last stand near their homeworld. But space has a way of hiding secrets, especially when human ingenuity is involved. As the Dominion fleet pushed deeper into the claimed territory, reality itself began to shimmer around them. The stars seemed to bend and twist, creating optical distortions that confused even advanced alien sensors. Then the impossible happened. 50 human warships materialized from absolute nothingness, appearing in perfect formation around the stunned alien fleet. The vessels were unlike anything in the Dominion's vast databases, their sleek hulls gleaming with an energy signature that made alien instruments scream warnings. Captain Han Wook stood on the bridge of the lead human vessel, Soul's Pride. The ship was a work of art and science combined, its hull forged from metamaterials that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The bridge crew worked with calm efficiency, their movements precise and practiced. "All ships, maintain formation," Han Wook ordered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had trained for this moment his entire career. "Target their weapon systems and engines only. We're here to send a message, not commit genocide." The human ships moved with fluid grace that defied every law of physics the Dominion understood. They flowed through space like schools of fish, changing direction without inertia, accelerating without apparent thrust, appearing and disappearing as they danced between dimensions. "Imperial fleet," Han Wook's voice crackled across all frequencies, reaching every alien vessel simultaneously. "You are in violation of Terran sovereign space. This is your first and only warning. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences of your aggression." On the Dominion flagship, chaos erupted across the command deck. Alien officers scrambled to understand what they were seeing as their sensors registered impossible readings. "Sir, these ships don't obey standard physics," the tactical officer reported, his 6 arms trembling as he worked the controls. "They're moving through space-time itself, bending reality around them." Vextar's arrogance crumbled into rage. "Impossible! No species in this galaxy possesses such technology." His voice rose to a roar that echoed through the bridge. "All ships open fire. Reduce these primitive mammals to cosmic dust." The Dominion fleet unleashed hell itself. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids fired in coordinated volleys. Antimatter torpedoes streaked through space, each one capable of vaporizing a small moon. Energy beams that had shattered the defenses of 1,000 worlds lanced out toward the human vessels. Every shot missed. The human ships seemed to dance between the attacks, moving through space in patterns that hurt alien minds to contemplate. They appeared in one location, vanished before weapons could track them, and materialized elsewhere entirely. Then the humans struck back. Beams of coherent energy lanced out from the human vessels, but these weren't weapons designed to kill. Instead, they precisely targeted specific systems aboard the alien ships. Dominion weapon arrays sparked and died. Engine cores flickered and went dark. Shield generators overloaded in showers of sparks. Commander Park Ji-young coordinated the attack from her position aboard the Busan's Fury. "Focus fire on the command ship's communication array. Let's see how well they coordinate without their command structure." Within minutes, half the Dominion fleet drifted helpless in space, their crews alive, but their ships completely disabled. The aliens who had conquered countless worlds found themselves as helpless as newborns, watching in terror as human vessels circled them like predators. "This is impossible," Vextar whispered, his 4 eyes wide with shock as his flagship systems failed one by one. "We are the Dominion. We have ruled this galaxy for millennia." Captain Han-Wook's voice came through the static of damaged communication systems, calm and implacable. "This is your only warning, Admiral. Leave now, or we will be forced to use lethal measures. Your choice." The humiliation burned like acid in Vextar's throat, but survival instincts overrode pride. "All ships," he commanded through gritted fangs. "Emergency withdrawal, fall back beyond the boundary immediately." As the battered Dominion fleet limped away into hyperspace, the human vessels simply vanished, disappearing back into whatever impossible realm they had emerged from, leaving only empty space and the echo of a species that would no longer be underestimated. The emergency session of the Dominion High Council lasted 17 hours. In the great pyramidal chamber on the capital world of Vexai, representatives from dozens of conquered species gathered to witness something that had never happened before in 3,000 years of galactic rule. The Dominion had been humiliated by a primitive species. Grand Admiral Thokren stood before the assembled council, his massive form dwarfing even the largest alien delegates. Unlike his subordinate Vextar, Thokren was a veteran of 100 campaigns, his cybernetic implants and battle scars telling the story of countless victories. His 3 hearts beat with cold fury as he addressed the council. "Honored members, what happened at the human boundary was not a defeat. It was a minor setback caused by underestimating an unknown technology," he declared, his voice amplified by bioacoustic enhancers. "I propose we respond with the full might of the Dominion. Military. No species in galactic history has ever resisted our complete attention." The council erupted in agreement. Species after species stood to pledge their most powerful warships to the cause. The Krell offered their world-killer dreadnoughts. The Vorthak contributed their swarm fighters that moved like living creatures. The machine intelligence of Nexus. Prime provided computational support for targeting systems. Within days, 5,000 warships had assembled at the mustering point beyond Terran space. The fleet was so massive that it blotted out entire star fields, a congregation of alien. Might that represented the combined military power of half the galaxy? Ships ranged from sleek Elvari destroyers to the continent-sized biovessels of the Hive Collective. Grand Admiral Thokren commanded from his flagship, Galaxy's Wrath, a vessel so large it maintained its own artificial gravity through sheer mass. The bridge was a cathedral of war, with tactical displays showing the positioning of thousands of ships in perfect formation. "Captains of the Dominion," Thokren's voice echoed through communication channels, reaching every vessel in the Armada. "Today we face an upstart species that dares to challenge 3 millennia of galactic order. When we are finished, their world will be a monument to the folly of resisting the Dominion's will." On Luna's hidden surface, General Cho Min-seo watched the alien armada approach through quantum-enhanced telescopes. The fortress had been built into the moon's dark side over 20 years, its existence hidden from alien observers by sophisticated holographic projectors that made it appear as nothing more than ancient crater formations. "General, enemy fleet. Strength is confirmed at 5,000 vessels," reported Major Kim Tae-hyun from his position at the tactical console. "They're advancing in standard Dominion battle formation. Heavy dreadnoughts at the center, support vessels in protective shells." Cho Min-seo nodded, her experienced eyes analyzing the alien formation with the skill of someone who had studied Dominion tactics for decades. "They're fighting the last war, Major. They expect us to meet them ship to ship like every other species. They've conquered." She activated the communication array connecting her to hidden bases throughout the solar system. "All stations implement Protocol 7. Time to show these aliens what human creativity can accomplish." The response was immediate and devastating. What the Dominion had catalogued as ordinary asteroids in the belt suddenly came alive with energy. Massive fusion reactors hidden within rocky shells powered up, feeding energy to weapon systems that had been carefully constructed over 2 decades. Rocks that had drifted silently for years revealed themselves as fortress platforms, bristling with railguns, particle beam arrays, and exotic matter cannons. The largest asteroid, designated Ceres, base split open like a metallic flower. Inside, a weapon the size of a city emerged, a gravity manipulator capable of creating artificial black holes. Its targeting systems locked onto the center of the alien formation. Colonel Nam Hyun strapped herself into the cockpit of her fighter aboard the hidden carrier Incheon's Vengeance. Her squadron consisted of 12 of humanity's most advanced combat craft, each one built using technology that existed at the bleeding edge of theoretical physics. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Leader," she announced over the tactical channel. "Remember your training. These aliens fight in straight lines and predictable patterns. We fight like ghosts." Her fighter was a masterpiece of human engineering, its hull composed of programmable matter that could shift density and appearance at will. The engines operated on principles of space-time manipulation, allowing for movement that seemed to violate causality itself. As the Dominion fleet advanced into the asteroid belt, expecting easy passage through what they assumed was empty space, the rocks around them exploded into violence. Particle beams lanced out from concealed positions, striking alien vessels with surgical precision. The attacks weren't random. They targeted specific systems, disabling rather than destroying. The alien formation began to crumble as ship after ship found their engines offline, their weapons disabled, their shields flickering and dying. What should have been a coordinated assault became chaos as vessels collided with each other, their navigation systems compromised by human electronic warfare. Colonel Nam Hyun led her squadron through the confusion like a dancer through raindrops. Her fighters appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before alien gunners could track them. They moved through folded space, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, striking targets that existed in normal space-time while remaining untouchable themselves. "Phoenix 2, target the Dreadnought's main reactor core," she ordered, her fighter weaving between antimatter torpedoes that exploded harmlessly in empty space. "Phoenix 5, disable their communication." "Hooray! Let's see how well they coordinate when they can't talk to each other." The battle raged for 6 hours, but it was never really a contest. The Dominion fought with brute force and overwhelming numbers, tactics that had served them well against conventional enemies. Humans fought with precision, creativity, and technology. That seemed like magic to alien minds. When the weapons finally fell silent, 3,000 Dominion vessels drifted powerless in space, their crews alive, but their ships completely neutralized. The remaining 2,000 had retreated beyond the boundary, their commanders too shocked to continue fighting. Grand Admiral Thokrin sat in his damaged command chair, his 3 hearts beating with the rhythm of defeat. For the first time in galactic history, the Dominion's full military might had been stopped cold by a species they had dismissed as primitive. In the silence that followed, Captain Han Wook's voice reached every alien vessel through their damaged communication systems. This is humanity's final warning. Leave our space and never return, or face complete annihilation. The greatest military force in galactic history turned and fled into the darkness, leaving behind the wreckage of their pride and the growing realization that the galaxy had found its new masters, the human command ship. Incheon Victory drifted silently through the debris field where the greatest fleet in galactic history had met its doom. The vessel was a marvel of engineering that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, its hull adapting to threats that no longer existed. Inside its secured holding areas, the most powerful military minds of the Dominion sat in cells that were more comfortable than most alien palaces, but were prisons nonetheless. Captain Yu Ji-hoon walked through the ship's corridors with measured steps, his black uniform bearing no decorations except for a simple patch showing Earth rising over Luna's horizon. Behind him, a squad of human marines escorted the captured alien officers toward what would be the most important conversation in galactic history. Admiral Vextar moved awkwardly in the human-designed restraints, his 4 eyes darting around the impossible architecture of the ship's interior. The walls seemed to bend space itself, creating rooms that were larger inside than outside. Gravity flowed in directions that made no sense to alien physics, yet felt perfectly natural to walk through. "How is this possible?" whispered Commander Zakthul, his insectoid features twitching with confusion as they passed through a corridor that existed in at least 6 dimensions simultaneously. No species in the galaxy possesses technology like this. The briefing room they entered was a sphere of pure white light that somehow provided perfect visibility without hurting alien eyes adapted to different spectrums. Director Kim Ji-soo sat at what appeared to be a simple table, but Admiral Vextar's enhanced vision could detect the quantum field generators that kept the furniture stable across multiple dimensional phases. "Welcome aboard, Admiral," Kim Ji-soo said, her voice carrying the calm authority of someone who held the fate of civilizations in her hands. She was younger than Vextar had expected, perhaps 40 Earth years, with the kind of intense focus that came from carrying impossible responsibilities. "I trust your accommodations have been acceptable." Vextar's scaled hands slammed against the table, his composure finally cracking under the weight of his defeat. "How?" he demanded, his voice carrying the desperation of a being whose entire worldview had been shattered. "Your species barely achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. You were classified as a Class 7 civilization, primitive tool users with crude nuclear weapons." Kim Ji-soo's smile was cold as winter on Earth's polar caps. "That classification was based on what we allowed you to see, Admiral. We've been preparing for this day since our deep space monitoring stations first detected your Empire's existence 73 years ago." She gestured, and the walls of the briefing room transformed into a holographic display showing Earth's recent history. Images flowed past, showing the secret construction projects, the hidden research facilities, the careful deception that had convinced the galaxy that humanity was just another primitive species waiting to be conquered. While you grew fat and complacent ruling over slave species, we united every brilliant mind on our world for a single purpose," Kim Ji-soo continued. "Our greatest scientists, engineers, and theorists worked in secret laboratories buried beneath our cities. Every discovery, every breakthrough, every moment of inspiration was focused on one goal: making sure that when you came for us, you would face something you were completely unprepared for." Dr. Bae So-young stepped forward from where she had been observing the conversation. Her laboratory coat was covered with equations written in symbols that made alien minds ache to look at them directly. She was one of humanity's greatest theoretical physicists, the woman who had cracked the mathematical codes that made their impossible technology possible. "Temporal mechanics, quantum tunneling, dimensional folding," she said, each word carrying the weight of scientific revolution. "These are concepts your empire never bothered to explore Because brute force and overwhelming numbers served you well enough for 3,000 years. Why develop elegant solutions when you could simply throw more ships at a problem? She activated a small device that projected a three-dimensional model of space-time itself, showing how human vessels moved through dimensions that the Dominion didn't even know existed. We discovered that reality has more layers than anyone imagined. While your ships crawled through normal space like insects on a flat surface, ours danced through the quantum foam itself. Admiral Vextar stared at the display, his military mind struggling to comprehend warfare conducted across multiple dimensions simultaneously. But the resources, he whispered, the coordination required. How could a single planet accomplish such things? Because we had something your empire has never possessed, Commander Park Solar said as she joined the group. We had unity born, of desperation, not conquest. Every human on Earth knew that our survival depended on working together. We didn't have slave species to do our thinking for us. We had to be smarter, faster, and more creative than an empire that controlled half the galaxy. She activated her own display, and suddenly the briefing room filled with a real-time map of Dominion space. Red dots appeared across the holographic galaxy like drops of blood, dozens of them spreading across hundreds of star systems. But that's not the real revelation, Admiral, Park Solar continued, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction. Your subject species have been watching this conflict with great interest. Every battle, every demonstration of human technology, every moment of your fleet's helplessness has been broadcast across the galaxy through channels you didn't know existed. The red dots pulsed brighter, and Vextar realized with growing horror what they represented. Rebellions, uprisings, entire star systems declaring independence from Dominion rule. The Corvan Rebellion began 6 hours ago, Kim Jisoo reported with clinical precision. Their homeworld's orbital defense platforms turned their guns on your garrison fleet. The Altani system declared independence 4 hours after that. On 17 worlds, your governors are barricaded in their palaces, while populations armed with human technology march in the streets. Dr. Bae Soyoung smiled as she added the final piece of the puzzle. We didn't just develop weapons and ships, Admiral. We developed communication networks that exist outside normal space-time. Every oppressed species in your empire has been watching these battles in real time, seeing proof that the mighty Dominion can be defeated. The holographic display showed scenes from across Dominion space. On the aquatic world of Merthala, dolphin-like, creatures used human-provided energy weapons to disable Dominion underwater bases. The crystalline beings of Silvara had turned their planet's surface into a fortress using human shield technology. Even the robotic slaves of the Nexus worlds had awakened to consciousness using human-designed AI liberation codes. 57 species, Commander Park Solar announced, all receiving human technology, human training, and human inspiration. Your empire isn't just facing a war with one primitive planet, Admiral. You're facing a galactic revolution. Admiral Vextar slumped in his chair, his 4 eyes staring at the display showing the collapse of everything he had spent his life fighting to protect. The Dominion that had ruled for 3 millennia was crumbling not from external conquest, but from internal revolution inspired by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. "What do you want?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Kim Jisoo's expression softened slightly, showing the first hint of the compassion that lay beneath her military exterior. "We want what every intelligent species deserves, Admiral. Freedom. The right to exist without bowing to conquerors. The chance to explore the universe as equals, rather than as slaves or masters." She leaned forward, her eyes meeting each of Vextar's 4 with steady determination. "Your empire's choice is simple. Adapt to a galaxy where freedom matters more than conquest, or watch everything you've built crumble into dust." Outside the ship's viewports, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating the dawn of a new age. The transformation of the galaxy happened faster than anyone had dared to dream. 6 months after the decisive battle that shattered the Dominion's military might, the capital world of Vexhai bore little resemblance to the seat of tyranny it had once been. The massive pyramidal structures that had housed the imperial bureaucracy now served a very different purpose. Director Kim Jisoo walked through corridors that had once echoed with the commands of conquerors, her footsteps now accompanied by the Voices of Liberation. The Grand Council chamber, where species had once begged for mercy from their oppressors, had been completely transformed. The throne where the Dominion Emperor had dispensed death sentences was gone, replaced by a circular arrangement of seats where every voice carried equal weight. Representatives from 43 newly liberated worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms creating a tapestry of galactic life that would have been impossible under imperial rule. The crystalline Silverians sat beside the aquatic Merthalans, while the mechanical consciousnesses of the Nexus worlds projected themselves through holographic emitters next to the towering plant creatures of Verdania Prime, fellow beings of the galaxy, Kim Jisoo announced, her voice carrying clearly through translation systems that had been upgraded with human quantum communication technology. Today marks not just the end of the Dominion's reign of terror, but the beginning of something our galaxy has never seen before: true cooperation between equals. The applause that erupted was unlike anything the chamber had ever witnessed. Instead of the fearful, forced approval that had once greeted imperial proclamations, this was genuine celebration from beings who had tasted freedom for the first time in their lives. The Galactic Freedom Alliance is hereby established, Kim Jisoo continued as the cheering subsided. Our charter is simple. Never again will any species bow to tyranny. Never again will the strong crush the weak simply because they can. Never again will conquest be disguised as civilization. Admiral Kang Minho stood at the tactical display in what had been the Dominion's war room, now repurposed as the Alliance's Coordination Center. His new title, Supreme Allied Commander, felt strange after a lifetime of defending just one world. Now his responsibilities extended across hundreds of star systems. Final report, Admiral, announced Lieutenant Colonel Park, Minsu, his aide-de-camp for the past 6 months. The last Dominion holdout fleet has surrendered at the Kethmore system. Grand Admiral Thokren has agreed to stand trial for war crimes in exchange for the safety of his remaining crews. Kang Minho nodded, studying the galactic map that showed the complete collapse of 3,000 years of imperial rule. Red zones, marking active combat, had vanished entirely, replaced by the blue markers of Alliance worlds. "It's remarkable," he said quietly. "The Dominion didn't fall because we destroyed them. They fell because their own subjects realized they didn't have to live in fear anymore." Across the galaxy, the changes were visible everywhere. Captain Han Wook guided his ship, Soul's Pride, through the bustling traffic around New Geneva Station, humanity's first permanent colony beyond the solar system. The station was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built using human dimensional technology, but incorporating design elements from dozens of species. The space around the station teemed with vessels that would have been impossible to imagine under Dominion rule. Sleek Elvari diplomatic ships flew alongside massive Corvan cargo haulers. Former Dominion patrol craft, now bearing Alliance insignia, escorted civilian transports filled with refugees returning to worlds they had been exiled from for generations. New Geneva Control, this is Soul's Pride requesting docking clearance, Han Wook transmitted, watching as a group of young Altani engineers tested their first dimensional fold engine under human supervision. "Clearance granted, Captain," came the reply from Station Commander Lee Hyejin, whose voice carried the satisfied tiredness of someone working to build rather than destroy. "Bay 7 is ready for you, and congratulations on the successful evacuation of the Tethkar colonies." On a training facility built into an asteroid in the former Dominion core systems, Colonel Nam Hyun watched her most diverse class of students ever attempt their first synchronized maneuver through folded space. Pilots from 12 different worlds struggled to master the quantum flight techniques that had made human forces so devastatingly effective. "Remember," she called out over the training channel, "you're not fighting the physics, you're dancing with them. Let the quantum foam carry you instead of trying to force your way through it." A young Corvan pilot, his feathered hands gripping controls designed for human anatomy, managed to execute a perfect dimensional slip that brought his fighter through 3 layers of space-time simultaneously. His whoop of joy echoed through the communication system, drawing cheers from classmates who had been enemies of his species just months earlier. Dr. Bae So-young's laboratory had become the most important research facility in the known galaxy. Where once she had worked in secret to develop weapons of liberation, now she collaborated openly with the greatest scientific minds from dozens of species. The breakthroughs they achieved together made her earlier work seem primitive by comparison. "The quantum field harmonics are stabilizing," reported Dr. Zeth Mara, a former Dominion scientist whose six-armed physiology made her incredibly efficient at complex calculations. "If these results hold, we should be able to establish instantaneous communication networks across the entire galaxy." Bae So-young smiled as she watched her alien colleague work with the same passionate dedication that had driven human scientists during the dark years of preparation. "Think of what we could have accomplished if we'd been working together from the beginning instead of hiding from each other." The transformation wasn't limited to technology and politics. On worlds across the galaxy, cultures that had been suppressed for centuries began to flourish again. The Mirthalans resumed their ancient songs that could communicate across ocean worlds. The crystalline Silvarians grew magnificent cities that transformed sunlight into art. Even the robotic consciousnesses of the Nexus worlds began developing individual personalities now that they were free to think beyond their programmed functions. Not everything was perfect. Some former Dominion species struggled to adapt to freedom after millennia of authoritarian rule. There were conflicts over resources, disputes about territorial boundaries, and the challenge of integrating technologies that had developed along completely different evolutionary paths. But these were the growing pains of liberty, not the systematic oppression of conquest. Standing in the observation deck of New Geneva Station, Director Kim Ji-soo watched the endless stream of ships carrying beings toward futures they could choose for themselves. In the distance, Earth shone like a blue beacon, no longer a hidden world preparing for invasion, but the proud founding member of an alliance that stretched across the stars. The Terran Space Declaration had been more than just a boundary marker. It had been humanity's announcement that the age of galactic tyranny was over. They had proven that innovation, unity, and the indomitable spirit of freedom could triumph over any force in the universe, no matter how ancient or powerful. As the last imperial surrender was broadcast across the galaxy, Kim Ji-soo smiled at the stars that no longer held the threat of conquest. Earth had declared its space off-limits to tyrants forever, and in doing so, had helped make the entire galaxy a place where freedom could flourish. The age of empires was over. The age of alliance had begun. The end.